Mic check for you, Tom. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Sound good? Okay.
I'm not, dude, we're on a totally different story. We got some, yeah, don't even worry about it. Yeah. It hasn't even happened yet. Yeah, and they're rolling on it back.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here for this important announcement. I guess about a minute or so, someone stopped me in the hallway and asked why we were wearing these mourning bands on our badges, and from that, I want to extend the condolences of the Fairfax County Police Department to the Covington, Virginia Police Department. Last night, police officer Caleb Ogilvie was shot and killed in the line of duty when he was responding to a domestic disturbance call for service. And that transitions into why we're here today. We believe that Joel Marino, Joel, last name Marino, Merino, 27 years old, killed his live-in former girlfriend, Hannah Choi. Hannah, common spelling, Choi, C-H-O-I. We have, in partnership with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, obtained arrest warrants charging Joel Marino with second-degree murder and disposal of a body. We have not yet arrested Joel Marino. We're searching for him. Bureau Chief Major Ed O'Carroll will go into that in just a moment. We believe Joel Marino killed Hannah inside of the Alexandria home that they lived in together. We believe that Joel Marino took Hannah's body and disposed her body in a park in Prince George's County, Maryland, Piscataway Park. In fact, our search and rescue team has been all over searching and continuing to search for Hannah's body in the park in Piscataway in Prince George's County, Maryland, just over the bridge and to the south. That search and rescue effort remains ongoing. Major O'Carroll will describe to you the vehicle that we found afterwards that we believe Joel discarded, but with an abundance of probable cause and an abundance of evidence, we worked with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and secured these arrest warrants, and now the search for Joel Marino is underway. This is a murder warrant without the recovery of our victim yet. That's unusual in this profession. And what's probably in your minds is we have another current case where we're still looking to recover a body of a homicide victim while we have already charged two people associated with his murder. So it is an unusual circumstance. It requires a whole lot of investigative collaboration between our homicide unit and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and we're grateful for that partnership, because getting these warrants right now is absolutely the right thing to do. I'm going to turn it over to Major O'Carroll, but I first want to thank many people who have worked with us in this ongoing case and continue to work with the Fairfax County Police Department. Number one is our own search and rescue team. They're world class. People come from all over the country to study how we put together our search and rescue team. They're the best in the business. They're continuing this search. We've been assisted by a K-9 team from the George Mason University Police Department. We've been assisted by U.S. Park Police. The Piscataway 800 acres is on U.S. Park Police property. We've been assisted by the Prince George's County, Maryland Police Department. And again, we couldn't be where we are today with these criminal charges without our partnership with local prosecutors. I want to thank Victim Services Specialist Taryn Kirk for all of her hard work with the victim's family. I know it hasn't been easy, and it's tough work, but it's important to do for the family, and that's ongoing as well. So I'll turn it over to Major O'Carroll, and then we'll answer some questions afterwards. Major.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I'm Major Ed O'Carroll. I have the distinct pleasure of overseeing our major crimes team, the Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department. I am joined by members of my amazing squad here. Thank you for being here today. Most importantly, thank you for what you do each and every day. In this case is no different. What initially started as a missing persons investigation a little more than a week ago has turned into a homicide investigation. Our victim, 35-year-old Hannah Choi, did nothing wrong. She was the victim of foul play. She was the victim of violence, a victim of murder, and we know the suspect. Hannah knew her killer. This is a domestic-related homicide, as the chief laid out. The alleged suspect, the alleged killer, enjoys a presumption of innocence, like all the defendants that we talk about, even while he is on the run. There has been and is mounting compelling evidence that led us to an abundance of probable cause, and that probable cause led us to obtain 2 arrest warrants, 1 for second-degree murder and 1 for felony disposal of human remains. Hannah Choi, a bright, caring, amazing young woman with the world at her reach, was reported missing to us on Sunday, March 6th. She was last seen on Saturday, March 5th, at her home in the 5300 block of Jesmond Street, which is in the Alexandria area of Kingstown here in Fairfax County. Friends arrived at Miss Cho's home on March 6th, about a week ago Sunday, but she did not answer the door. She missed several appointments, was very unlike her, and she could not be reached. Her friends contacted law enforcement out of the serious concern for her well-being. Our officers, our patrol officers, rapidly responded, ultimately checked the house, and the house appeared generally to be in order, except for bedding, which appeared to be missing from one of the bedrooms. Based on her sudden and unexpected disappearance, detective from our Major Crimes Bureau launched an active missing persons investigation. Through interviews, an abundance of interviews with family and friends and neighbors, detectives discovered that Ms. Choi may have had an argument on Saturday, March 5th, with Joel Marino, 27, of Alexandria. We know they were in the community that evening together. Video surveillance supports that. Detectives do believe at some point something happened that resulted in a significant injury to Hannah. Detectives believe Marino then removed Hannah from the home and transported her to another location. Now, we have identified the vehicle that we believed was operated by Marino that night and into the next day. We've located that vehicle in Washington, D.C. on March 7th. It is evidence in the case and has been and currently being processed by our forensics team, our cyber and forensics division. A search warrant was executed in that on that vehicle, in that car, and again, it remains housed at our evidence center. Although Hannah was not found, we did discover evidence that suggests she was harmed prior to her disappearance. And based on the evidence recovered from the vehicle, the scene, numerous interviews, homicide detectives had an abundance of probable cause. As the chief outlined, my staff met with the county prosecutor's office, and detectives testified before a magistrate, ultimately obtaining those 2 arrest warrants for Joel Marino. Detectives from our Fugitive Track and Apprehension Unit immediately assumed the investigation to track his whereabouts. They determined he likely fled the state. We took swift action to notify our partners, the United States Marshal Service, to aid in his apprehension. He is in the national database of wanted individuals, and he may have assumed a different name. So please take a moment to look at the photo of his appearance. That might be one of the more likely things that somebody could trigger a memory that they saw him or know him. Again, he's actively wanted for murder, so use caution. If you know his whereabouts, call 911 immediately. Notify law enforcement right away. So detectives from our Major Crime Squad have been working this case since its inception. Again, transitioning from a missing persons case to a violent crimes, homicide investigation. Now, based upon our records that have returned with urgent search warrants that we have filed, we did identify that Marino spent time in a park in Prince George's County, Maryland, as the chief outlined, the night of and into the next morning of her disappearance, after the night that she was killed. So officers from our search and rescue team, along with our partners, the Fairfax County Fire and Rescue Department, the chief mentioned our strong partnership with the George Mason University Police Department here in Northern Virginia. They assisted us, United States Park Police, the Mason-Dixon search dogs. It's a team effort when we come together to work a case such as this. They did search that area in the park for almost 2 days. I was present down there, and I saw the work of our partners, Fairfax County police officers and others, looking for Hannah. Unfortunately, we were not met with success. So we continue to review evidence to potentially identify locations to search. Once identified, we will. And it's very likely, as the chief said, we'll be back at that park. This case is active until we find Hannah and we find the person, Marino, who we have warrants for. As we do in all these cases, our amazing victim service specialists from our Victim Services Division have been assigned to ensure Hannah's family is receiving the appropriate care, resources, and assistance. So thank you for that. This is tragic. My deepest condolences to Hannah's family, her friends, and our community. We are, again, committed to finding Hannah and finding her killer. She is a victim of murder, and it's worth saying she did absolutely nothing wrong. However, for justice and closure, we do need your help. We're asking anyone that has information about Hannah's disappearance or knowledge of Joelle's Marino's whereabouts. Maybe you saw them on March 5th. Maybe you saw Marino sometime before or just after the night of the 5th, the 6th, or the 7th. Anything that you know could help in the investigation, please contact the Fairfax County Police Department at 703-246-7800, option 2. Tips can also be submitted anonymously through our partnership with Fairfax County Crime Solvers, and their phone number is 1-866-411-TIPS. That's 1-866-411-8477. And community involvement, anyone that knows anything, it's imperative that you contact law enforcement, and you can remain anonymous. And with that, the chief and I will take any questions that you may have.
Major, can you comment at all on, you mentioned that there was a significant injury at some point in that. Was there traces of a physical altercation inside the home? Do you believe that Ms. Choi was alive when she was taken from that?
So we know something bad happened, really bad. And we have evidence and details that make us believe, firmly believe, without any doubt, that she's deceased. And we do think the house is in play, and we were there for several days. We think the car, the vehicle, is a critical piece of evidence that will remain as evidence. And we want to find Marino. He is the link to put all these things that we know into that timeline.
Given the nature of the domestic piece of this, any reason to believe that he's any threat specifically to anyone in the community or anyone else at this time?
So he's wanted for murder. That's how I'm going to answer that question. He's wanted for murder, and we want to get him off the street.
Major, and Drew, if I can just add, there's no criminal history with this killer. There's no history of calls for service at their address for anything, obviously to include domestic violence. But he knows what he did. He's on the run. He's desperate, and desperate people are prone to violence. So, you know, not unlike other circumstances in the National Capital Region, we're talking about 3 different jurisdictions that are in play. The home in Fairfax County, Prince George's County, where we believe he may have discarded Hannah, and then the recovery of the vehicle where we believe we know rather, that he transported her body in D.C. So, you know, and I think I probably failed to mention earlier the Metropolitan Police Department's assistance. Again, it's a daily collaboration, so it's not anything unusual, but we have three different jurisdictions in play. We've got a body-less arrest warrant for murder. Typically, that's once in a decade type circumstance. We're now working two of them right now, which is very unusual. But it goes to show that we're able to, even absent the recovery of a victim, which is always very upsetting to the family, the community, we're still able to pursue and gather enough probable cause and evidence to bring charges quickly, and that we think that's important. Sierra?
Can you explain what type of evidence you guys have that helped you obtain arrest warrants?
It's a great question, Sierra. I'm not going to go into detail. As the chief mentioned, a bodiless case is not overly common, and I cannot jeopardize this case making it into the courtroom and us getting a conviction. My remarks are clear. There's an abundance of evidence and facts that we know about this case that lead us to this decision. So I'm not going to go into exactly what we have, but back to the park where we know Marino went hours after this murder. Having been there, I was there. I walked to the shoreline. Just to give you a perspective, as you look across the Potomac, you see Mount Vernon. You see the mansion on the hillside. So we're directly across from Fairfax County, but he traversed that path, came down 210, and spent a period of time over there. And you know, that's why we're being transparent. We have searched there. We will search there again. If anyone in the DMV, in Virginia or on the Maryland side, has information, we need to hear from them.
Besides the park, do you know anything else about the suspect's whereabouts or where he worked, what he did, anything like that you can share?
I'll share one tidbit of information. We know after he fled Virginia. That's why I'm confident to say he's left the state. We have him in the state of Georgia for a period of time. After that, he's on the lam, and we're going to find him.
So do you think he's heading south, or right now you don't know?
I don't know, but we're anxious to get handcuffs on him.
Hey, Scott Broom with WSNI. For the Major, please.
Sure.
Similar questions. Any thoughts about how he left the state? And any background information on either one of them that might help people's memories jog, occupations, anything like that?
Yeah, so that's why I pointed out the photo. I do think we do believe he's used different names over a period of time. I think this is the most common name he's used. So that's why we were sharing the name, his age, and his photo. I don't know how he got to the Atlanta area, the Georgia area, and I don't know how far he's moved from there. We do think he's left the state of Georgia. These are just assumptions. He could have returned to Virginia. So we've put the all points bulletin out to our officers throughout the national capital region. We're alerting our partners in other states, and we hope someone sees him. Maybe someone's sitting on a bus or a train or an airplane right now, and is going to call local law enforcement and say, "Hey, this guy's wanted for murder."
Any occupation or background information on either him or the victim?
Fairly transient, nothing that would stand out that I would share that would jog anyone's memory. I think the people that know him, but they should know that he's now Fairfax County's most wanted.
How about your victim? Any background information you can share?
Yeah, I'll say it again. Loving, caring, sweet, and did absolutely nothing wrong. She's a victim of violence, and it's sad.
Yes, sir.
If there's nothing else on this, and I don't know how much you can comment on this, I realize you're not the lead on this investigation, but Gerald Brevard, you guys put out a release about him. I mean, he has a very extensive criminal history here in the county before he was picked up, in the district. Can you comment at all on him and the department's familiarity with him and kind of what you were able to assist with in the search for that individual?
Sure. Well, Drew, I most, if not all, Washingtonians have been following the killings of homeless people in New York and D.C. So today's revelation of Gerald Brevard, and I think MPD is having a press conference this afternoon. So we placed criminal charges against Gerald Brevard back in 2020. I think it was late 2020, December of 2020, and he was charged with abduction with intent to defile. That was one charge. He was charged with burglary, and he was charged with possession of burglary tools. That arrest made its way to a courtroom, I believe, in March of 2021. So the disposition, conversation, questions should probably be asked to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. But we charged him criminally back in late December of 2021, and he went to court in March of 2021, December 20 and March of 2021.
With respect to your comments about, the court proceedings, I mean, based on what you know about that individual, based on what you know about those crimes, is that an individual that poses a threat to his community based on what you know, that it might be better served for the community?
Yeah, hindsight's always 2020, and defendants enter pleas every day in every courtroom in the country. So I can't speak with any specificity. I know that we're going to go back in time and take a look at the investigation, the arrests that we made, and if there's any lessons or conversations that need to be had from that, we're certainly willing to have them.
Chief, can I follow on that?
Yes, sir. And Neil.
I think the release indicated that the investigators at the time thought that individual, Brevard, may have been responsible for some other heinous attacks. Would that information have been shared with the State Commonwealth Attorney's Office when the proceedings were made? You indicated what he was charged with, but there were notions that he had really been on a tear in the area with assaults. Would that have been shared with that office when this case was disposed of?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate or engage in hypothetical scenarios. All I know, and again, the news of his arrest just happened today. So we know his name. We know we arrested him back in December of 2020, and we know he made his way into a courtroom in March of 2021. So that's all I know. So, again, prosecutorial decisions are made every day in every courtroom across the country. So some of your questions, I understand them. I just don't have specific answers for you.
Well, does your department typically share that information when you go to the prosecutor's office? Is that usually part of the equation?
Well,
do they just talk about
yeah, I mean, at a little bit of a risk of being quoted out of context, I'll say that our detectives and our police officers and prosecutors typically share information about the immediate criminal charges and any other information relevant to the defendant and other cases. That's about the best I can do with that. This news just broke today. The good news is this guy's identified and he's off the streets. Terrorizing two big cities is a problem, and I'm glad he's in custody, and his association with Fairfax County is something that, again, what I know hails back to December of 2020 and when we locked him up. Yes, sir.
Chief, back to the Marino's vehicle. Is there any description or you could release on the vehicle as far as maybe the public knows what parts of the DMV may have traveled through?
Yeah, we've talked about that. That wasn't his vehicle. That was a vehicle he was passed down through a few people passing keys, so he was able to use that vehicle during the what we know is the nighttime hours, or very early morning hours. I don't have all the details on the vehicle. We do really want to stress, if you know him or you saw him somewhere, he's the link. Yeah, thank you.
When you mean pass keys, is it one of those rent vehicles?
No, what I mean is just through friendships and acquaintances, through a network of friends. So that was not a vehicle registered to him, and he would not drive that vehicle, what you would expect to be every day.
But the vehicle's recovered and it's in your possession.
Correct. To the chief's point, Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, in partnership with them, we found the vehicle in D.C. It was abandoned. Nobody was in it. Hannah was not in it. But like I said earlier, there was a lot of evidence, and that's part of our case.
Can you say how you developed this timeline of where you know he was and stuff, and how you were able to was in this area?
Yeah, so when we have a missing persons case, and as the chief said, we've had several of these cases, unfortunately, turn for the worse. But we have other missing persons that we find, and they're not missing under foul play circumstances. Thank goodness we don't have many. One is too many. But we do file emergency cell phone pings and things of that nature. There's a lot of digital evidence. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we have them on video the night before in the Springfield area, along Backlick Road, to be precise. We know they were together. We've confirmed that through a variety of data points. But oftentimes it is that digital footprint, and I've talked about that before at this podium, that people leave in our society, that we're under emergency circumstances, and this was an emergency circumstance. Our effort was to find Hannah alive. Our effort still continues to find her or her remains, but it's also shifting to find the killer.
Was her bedding missing from her bedroom?
It was missing from a bedroom in the home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.